Ah, oh, so good. Okay. Oh, and we are live. Hey, everybody. You're watching and listening to the We Are Rizin podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin. I am all the way out in Thailand, a hot mess, literally a hot mess. I got with me CJ from Japan. I know I said I was going to do this at 5 p.m. Japan time. I screwed up because I don't know time zones. Anyway, CJ, thank you for joining. So, and putting up with my lack of timely awareness.
No, it's fine. Sounds good.
I know we never did like a Rizin 42 review recap, whatever. I just figured, do you want to just talk about the press experience at Rizin?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe we can talk about that. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of unique because I haven't done too much press stuff in the US. I did like Invicta and things like that. And they have like an Invicta, same with like Deep and Pancrase. There's like generally a press section, but it's like in the place where you see the fights. Whereas in Rizin, they actually put you like in a separate media room where they have the fights on a TV. Then after the fight, they bring the fighters in for like questioning. So it's kind of like a unique setup. Very efficient though. Definitely get all the interviews done while the event's going on, so you're not stuck there after the show. But what do you think of it?
Well, this is my second time doing it. I did it for Rizin 11. I mean, they're
Where you
professional.
famously got drunk and now they have a giant don't
No
drink
comment.
alcohol.
No comment. No comment. Anyway, always professional. I think Rizin, it's probably the most professional of all the I would say all the JMMA. It's very similar to Bellator.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
It was a very smoothly run press experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They had food. They had what's it called? What's that tea called again? Itoyen, I think.
Oh, they had like those little like like the buckwheat tea, like kogicha, whatever.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole thing though, that we're in that little room and we're only watching on the TV and then they mute it every time they bring a fighter in?
I think it's actually kind of, I mean, for the scale of the event, I think it's fine. I mean, I don't expect them to, I don't expect them to like clear out the front row and give it to people that aren't paying kind of thing. So plus it seemed like if you wanted to interview the fighters, it was a very efficient way of doing that. The only difficult thing was, unless your publication has more than one person there, then it's kind of difficult to watch the fight and interview the fighters at the same time. So that's kind of difficult. But
who was a fighter? I forgot which fighter it was who they brought in who was in the wheelchair. Because he got like his leg injured.
Yeah.
He fought the Russian guy.
Wasn't it Thai? Yeah, I know you're talking about.
And what do you think about that? Like, remember when Joe Rogan used to get a lot of crap for like interviewing fighters after they've been like knocked out? I don't know. What do you think about
famous Overeem knockout?
Yeah. What do you think? Does Deep do the same thing? If a fighter can walk and talk, do they roll them out?
No, Deep's pretty different because Deep they don't do the interviews till after the event, and they only pick like 3 or 4 fighters to do interviews. And so it's normally like the ones that got if someone had like a big win, or if it was a big fight on the event, or it's someone who has like a title fight coming up, those are the interviews, but they don't make all of the fighters available.
It's interesting. So like you have to get a knockout. Is the kind of thing where like if you get a knockout, like they'll let you like talk on the mic as well? Is that kind of like similar thing?
They like most of the fighters speak after their fight in the cage, but for like an actual in-depth interview, I'd say Deep normally does about 3 fighters.
We got a question. I can recognize the kanji because it says I think it says Hiramoto TV. What do you think about Ren Hiramoto? So, CJ, thoughts on Ren Hiramoto?
It's really popular. When I went to the show at Yoyogi, I mean, he had a ton of fans, sold the show out super fast. I thought he's probably a better fighter in the cage than in the ring. He seemed to use the cage well to stop the takedowns and stuff. But yeah, thought he looked, I mean, Saito should have smashed him, and the fact that he didn't says a lot for Ren.
I think, I think Ren, here's the thing. I think Ren is incredibly charismatic. In many ways, good ways, bad ways, positive ways. I think I think he's actually pretty good from when he first started. Like he was clearly not ready for MMA. The Saito loss wasn't even a bad loss in my opinion, because it was clearly more, it was less. Saito didn't win because because he was a better fighter. Like if you watch that fight, it's clear that like Saito would coasted be the word?
It was weird. It was like he was so afraid of getting knocked out by Hiramoto that he almost refused to engage at all.
Yeah. I would say, I think definitely Ren has improved a lot though. I think from when he first started to now, I think he's light years better. It's just, I think, do you think something like that just takes time just to get better, or just to achieve more, just to become more all-rounder?
I mean, he was matched up pretty horribly at the beginning of his career because he's so famous. They kind of have to like put him against tough guys that also have big names. So he never really had any time to develop as an MMA fighter, which kind of led to the crazy results. But yeah, I think he looks a lot better. But he's still pretty young, so it'll be interesting to see how much better he can get.
Just like fantasy booking, would you him versus Ren Hiramoto versus Juntaro Ushiku? Is that something you'd be interested in seeing? Just off the top of my head.
Absolutely not. Ushiku's so boring. Ushiku's got to be one of the most boring fighters in Rising history. No, absolutely not. I would put him in fun fights. Put him in fights where they're going to talk shit. Put him in fights where there's going to be some lead up to it. You got to put him with someone that's going to like play the game with him.
Daniel from Poland, our friend Daniel, the Polish Hammer, says, "Hello guys, Svemotor in Wikta all day. Smile Bomb, overnight worker. Listen, do your best, Smile Bomb. Listen, I used to be an overnight worker. Sucks, man. But listen, thank you for tuning in. Smile Bomb also says, you're going straight for Ushiku's throat. And I'm going to laugh my ass off. So, Falling Star has a question.
Ushiku was in. Was he in three, or he was in at least three of the most boring fights in Rising history?
What do you think? So, are you talking about the Saito?
The two Saito fights were awful. The one where he landed literally like one kick, and it was the kick that won him the fight. It wasn't even a finish.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Then there was a second one where I don't remember anything about that fight.
It was awful.
And then the third one where he, jumping guard, is he? Would you say that Ushiku's the type of fighter who's like suited well for like a deep, or like that level? It's just like
no, he's a deep champion, but he's boring. He's boring. I don't know what the pulling guard thing was especially weird because he's never submitted anybody.
And he also doesn't he have like a history of like weird wins? Like either his opponents like get injured, or
the
like,
Saito win, the Saito win, where it's like he lands one kick and drops him and gets the damage points and wins the fight.
Or you remember the first where he just got that one knee that like made him split open. Split Saito's eye.
That's what it was. I apologize. The first fight was the cut, and the second fight was all he hit him with was a high kick, but the high kick dropped and almost finished Saito, so they gave him the damage points. Awful.
And then didn't he have like a bunch of like weird split decisions? Is he he's almost kind of like Benson Henderson in Deep, where he gets these like
But
these split decisions.
at least Benson Henderson's fun when you're like beating him.
Yeah.
Benson Henderson was only boring like when he was winning.
Mm.
Kind of like Clay Guida.
Falling Star has a question. When will Rizin put the ring in Bellator's hands? I think 3 to 5 more co-promotions will be the deciding time for Sakakibara and company. When they say put the ring, Falling Star, when you say put the ring on Bellator's hand, you mean Bellator? Well, Rizin buying Bellator?
They don't have that kind of money.
Well, does Bellator, listen, GJ, I think you and I could just put our money together and we can buy Bellator. And we can officially change it to Smellator and then change the whole, we could officially make it the company that was named. We could finally make official that Bellator was named after a fish.
So that whole Scott Coker press conference is kind of weird, where he was like, we're not for sale, we're just looking for investors. Does that mean that like Viacom is no longer willing to invest money into Bellator, and that Bellator has to look for like outside investments? And if you're looking for investors, does that mean that Viacom is like going to start selling percentage of Bellator to other people?
So it's okay. Well, first of all, it's clear that Bellator is trying to get sold.
Well, I think it's clear that Viacom wants to sell it. I don't think Scott Coker wants to sell it.
I mean, does Scott Coker want to just take the payout? Like, he gets his severance or his settlement, and then, I don't know, does whatever he wants to do.
I would assume it's like Strikeforce. I assume he has no say in the matter, because he had no say in the Strikeforce matter either.
Do you think they would bring him on though? You think that PFL will like make him like co-president or something?
Why would they? They got their own people. I mean, they have Lauren Mack over there kicking ass after the one championship days.
I think we're talking off air. We're like, you're kind of tired of the Bellator, Rizin thing.
Yeah. I'm okay with the collabs. I'm kind of tired of like the weird like Bellator just putting on Bellator versus Bellator fights at a Rising show and having like their own event as part of a Rising show.
Yeah. So it is very strange that like AJ McKee and Patricio are having a match in Bellator. And
it just means they don't want to fight at like an Indian casino in the US somewhere. Like they want to fight at a place with, because they fought there New Year's Eve, 25,000 people. I mean, if I was one of them, I'd want to fight in Japan too.
I know you said that. So do you think there's zero possibility Rizin buys Bellator themselves?
No, they would. I don't think they'd buy it. They wouldn't know what to do with it.
What about you next? Or one of the television?
I don't think they're going to buy a promotion.
Maybe Mikaru always breaking down money will buy Bellator. I trust him more than Scott Coker.
I mean, because of the Rising collabs, Bellator does have name value in Japan. But I also just, when I talk to people, I have to explain to them like Bellator isn't like a top promotion anymore.
What? So do you contend that PFL is the number 2 promotion in the United States?
US?
Yes.
I think. Well, how would you rank it? Okay, so UFC is clearly number 1. You got
internationally or United States?
Let's see.
Internationally, Rizin number 2. Rizin or KSW, I would play as number 2.
I mean, I'd put one championship above Bellator. They burn more money than Bellator's ever seen.
Yeah, but
Bellator won championships on Amazon Prime. They had their Denver debut. Chatri wouldn't lie to us. More people watch Bellator won championship than the Super Bowl.
That's true. Takaru, Japan's, Masato and all those Japanese kickboxers never fought real competition. So,
I mean, I'm not in the US. Do you think if you spoke to a casual MMA fan, would they like know a lot about Bellator?
I don't even know if a casual MMA fan would know about Bell. See, this is one of those things where I also wonder. So I call it like the NASCAR phenomenon. So CJ, you're from Indiana. Was NASCAR a thing in Indiana?
Yes.
Okay. You go to New York, you go to Oregon, to Portland, you go to California though. You ask people if they're NASCAR fans, and like none of them say, well, that they've ever been to a NASCAR show. But you go to the Midwest and then NASCAR, Indy 500, you can find tons of fans. Also, it's the same thing of Jag. You remember that show Jag?
Oh yeah, about like the Navy cops or whatever it was.
Yes. I never met anybody who actually watched that show, but that show was on for like a good decade.
That's a good
And
point.
so
Isn't that one show? What's that? Isn't the one show like that? No one that what's the Kevin Costner Cowboy show?
Oh, Yellowstone.
Isn't that like the biggest show in the country? People just don't talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wonder if Bellator is one of the things where it's like maybe in France, Bellator is actually legitimately popular, that they legitimately sold out that show.
Well, I mean, Bellator's done some smart things. They like cultivated the Hawaii market for themselves.
Yes.
They cultivated a following by going to places that the UFC is just not interested in going to.
Yeah.
But they've also made terrible decisions. I think Bellator clearly has fans. I think it's like a very small bubble of hardcore fans whose names rhyme with Beowulf.
Beowulf and meat, maybe.
Yeah.
I do wonder though, if we went to like Oklahoma, where Bellator is. I think Bellator's done shows in Oklahoma, I believe. Have they done it in Chicago? Oh, they've done that in Chicago. I wonder though, like if there's more, if it's one of those things where like
if I go to an Indian casino somewhere in the country, they're going to be huge.
Yeah. Yeah, you talk to the old lady who's been sitting there for hours, putting coins in the slot machine, and she's like, "Oh yes, I know the Bellators."
I don't know.
Yeah,
because they do shows in New York. Are they big in New York?
No. Remember they tried Madison Square Garden twice, and I can tell you, nobody bought tickets. I should say nobody, but those shows were undersold significantly.
Like they lost money.
Yes. I can definitely tell you that because even if I'm trying to remember, did they do the Hulu Garden or did they do Madison Square Garden? I think they did Hulu Garden, which is like, Saitama has, you know about the Hulu Garden, right?
Yeah, the Saitama has the two setups, the stadium seating and the other one.
Yeah, so like Hulu Garden is a smaller one. So, and I think they did Hulu Garden. I can't remember this. Someone's in the chat's gonna have to remember. Have to tell me if it was Hulu Garden or Madison Square Garden proper. But yeah, they did not. They did not make money on those shows. And this is I didn't go to the. Let's see. I'm trying to remember which one I went to, and there was the one that had rain on it.
That was at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's Horiguchi as well, right?
So, and most of the tickets, to my understanding, that are sold in Bellator are those like, and they do that, this Deep does this, where they'll like, they'll get like 2 or 3 people from like the same camp, and then
just salvage a bunch of tickets.
Yeah. So like, and you'll notice with like Hawaii Fires, PFL, especially like Ray Cooper or those people, he sells those tickets get sold like to actual like fans of like a family of Ray Cooper or whoever, and they do fly in.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many people. It seems
unless you're doing like a 80 fight K1 event, it's going to be hard to sell at the Madison Square Garden Arena with that.
Yes. But like I don't think the amount of fans that are just coming, Joe Smith and is taking the kids to the Bellator show is not as frequent as as going to the UFC show. Even the worst UFC show outdraws like whatever you consider the best Bellator show. And
the biggest Bellator shows have to have been some of their international shows. I mean, their French show and their Japan shows might be their biggest shows ever, right?
Yeah. So I want, I wonder if like, so I wonder if if I don't know what they do in terms of um what should we call it? How they promote in
They
France
don't.
versus Bellator.
They don't promote.
Um,
Isn't that like the
they
Bellator
don't.
secret is never promote or market anything?
Who was it that wrote about that recently? That like that's the reason why it's survived for so long because they don't
They don't
promote.
they don't spend money on promote marketing. Yeah.
Um, it kind of sucks though. It kind of sucks that like yeah, like because I'll tell you the truth. Most Bellator shows I don't even know about until like I get the press release for like the day before. Or
I never know
like the
about
fight
I
week.
only know about them if there's like a Japanese fighter fighting, and even then it's like the day of usually.
And it's worse with the France ones because it's the time delay, or
Oh,
it's
really?
overseas. So I don't even know. I like yeah. Um, would you if PFL does buy Bellator, would you and Bellator cease to exist? Um, would you be happy or would you be sad? R.I.P. Smellator.
I think Bellator's done all it's going to do. It'd be nice to. I wouldn't be sad if it was gone.
Um, what would you? But so then that would leave only in the market for the United States, UFC and PFL. Um,
Well, you got
that's
Combat Global.
Combat Global. Oh,
What's the other one?
but,
Yeah, other ones. But yeah, they'd be the big players.
well, they know whose time would be to sleep in would be one, to get that massive Gron show.
I mean, do you think the U.S. market can really support three major MMA promotions? It seems like Bellator barely limps on as it is.
Oh, I mean, USA used to have three major wrestling promotions: WWF, the ECW, and WCW. So,
And
mm,
didn't last for very long.
er, um, I'm not gonna repeat that, Daniel, because I would probably this video would be immediately blocked on YouTube. So, I'm not gonna pronounce that as I'll just say you just say combated global. Okay, and so I just want to go back in the chat. Let's see. Smile Bomb says, while I do want to root for Mikaru's experiment, unfortunately, I also don't think Breaking Down makes profit yet. Are tickets sold to Breaking Down shows, Charlie?
Yeah, they have like VIP tickets that are like super expensive. I think it's like over $1,000.
Do you know anybody who's actually like bought them or like?
Oh no, it's like a status thing to go. It's like rich people go to say that they went. I remember in one of them, I was reading about it. If you bought tickets to go, part of the package was like you got your pictures taken with Mikuru, and then it was like champagne and caviar as you sat like right front row and watched it. No, it's nuts.
Oh, wow.
I went to a deep show. I mean, not deep show. I went to the Shooto Colors show, and that was the same day as a Breaking Down, and there was nobody there. And you were like, "Where are the people for the Shooto show?" And they said the people couldn't even afford tickets to the Breaking Down show. They were just waiting outside of the venue. Instead of going to Shooto, they chose to wait outside of the venue and hope to get like a glimpse of Mikuru going in. So I think his popularity is nuts, and I think
Well,
Breaking Down does make money because they don't pay those people to participate on it.
even when they get like a name like Ampo or
And might be paying them, but most of the people are just doing it for exposure. I mean, the videos on his channel get those Breaking Down videos get over 10 million views.
Smile Bomb says it brings in revenue, but Bellator and One don't even make profit. I don't think Breaking Down would either. I mean,
They don't have the cost. He's not paying fighters.
yeah, I definitely think if it's
Plus,
listen, is it
every event is a pay-per-view. I mean, the auditions are on YouTube. They make 10 million views plus, but the actual events themselves are like $50 pay-per-views.
it may not be making like I don't know 10 million yen or whatever. But
Well,
it's probably. Do you think
I
it's
think
making more
Breaking
money
Down
than?
does very. I think it does. I think it does well. I think it makes money.
Do you think it makes more money than Deep and Shooto?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it
Oh.
makes really good money because it's 100%. He has all the control. It's the pay-per-view, and then it's the YouTube money. And he takes all of it. Maybe he pays a couple of the fighters, but most people are probably just on there for exposure. He has giant sponsors for it too. And yeah, it seems to be very
Do you see
business heavy.
commercials or advertisements for it? Like, I don't know, do they advertise like, I don't know, in traditional ways, whatever that is in Japan?
I mean, I don't know if it's like literal advertisements on TV, but when Mikuru goes on like Fuji TV, they don't call him like rising fighter. It says like Mikuru Asakura, and under his name it says Breaking Down. Breaking Down is probably has more name recognition than Rising at this point in Japan.
This is only anecdotal, but CJ, I was 3 weeks in Japan, taking the subway a lot. I can tell you, like, I'm someone who's always curious, whenever, because everybody in Japan, as soon as you get to the subway, what they always do, they're looking down at their phone, right? Yeah. So there was numerous times where I saw people either watching Breaking Down on YouTube or like on some sort of social media. I saw that numerous times. It had to be at least over 10 times.
It's hard to like. I speak to people just like at my job and stuff, and they don't know what Rising is, but they know what Breaking Down is, and they know who Mikuru Asakura is. Like he's bigger than Rising at this point.
Do you think we'll ever see a collab between, I guess, an official collab between Rizin and Breaking Down?
It seems to be the other way. It seems to be fighters are leaving their promotions to go fight for Breaking Down. Didn't that guy leave K1 to go fight for Breaking Down?
Smile Bomb says they didn't know that Breaking Down didn't pay their fighters.
Well, I mean, most of the people are just like what is like the attention whores that want some sort of attention to like launch their career as like an idol or something or a comedian. So
this reminds me of? This kind of reminds me of like the early days of like, remember Survivor, Big Brother?
You have to apply, you have to audition just to get on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a reality show, like you're saying.
Yeah, no, but it's so funny. This reminds me of like the really early days of American reality TV, and when people would like, legitimately branch off like to like into other adventures. Like, well, what was it? Remember the Omarosa from The Apprentice?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I guess also, I guess a modern thing could be like Shark Tank in the USA. Right. But it is fascinating that this somehow has latched on. I don't know. What do you think that people?
I think Mikuru is really smart. He understood that a lot of people, everyone in Japan commutes, so they have like weird short pockets of time. And maybe they don't have you can't get a casual person to be interested in MMA because in that Yoyogi show, if you took a casual MMA fan to that and they saw all those boring decisions, they'd never want to watch it again. But it's kind of hard to have like a boring 1 round, 1 minute fight. And even if it is boring, it's over so quickly that you just bring out the next people. And there's the whole like reality show, I think a girl bent over and like pulled her pants down and mooned him one time. I mean, it's just like a guy picked up a chair and threw it and nailed a guy in the head. Like, it's a crazy show.
Do you think also like, because I want to say that like watching Japanese TV for the most part, it's kind of safe. Like there's not a lot of,
oh no, that guy was bleeding a lot from his head when he got hit with the chair.
And I think, do you think also it's kind of like almost this extreme it goes against the culture of Japanese TV where it's kind of like the comedy, kind of like ridiculous. It's kind of like it's almost safe in a way. But Breaking Down is just kind of like, we're going to show the dregs of society and we're going to have them like in public. That doesn't seem to be a really Japanese thing to like kind of put people on the spots. Oh, like those, you get what I'm saying? Do you guys get what I'm saying?
No.
Oh fuck! Let me see. Like, for the most part, like Japanese TV, like it doesn't seem to like take these extremes that like Breaking Down does, which is like finding like Breaking Down seemingly finds like porn stars, like you said, the girl who moons.
Well, that's actually not that uncommon on Japanese TV. They have like porn stars and stuff on Japanese TV.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way more common than it would be in the US. I think, see, Outsider was like a successful thing. It had like a cult following. And so I think he took the lessons from that, but then he also like mixed it more with a reality show and got the whole like entertainment angle in it. Because these people are hamming it up so bad. Like it's very clear people just like doing whatever it takes to pass the audition. But people are obsessed with it. Plus, I mean, people have so many commutes. When a 20-minute video comes out that has like the highlights of the auditions, people love that shit. It's like the perfect period. It's like the perfect length. It's not too long. It's not too short. Plus, he kind of built up this own like cult where all these people love him and they just want to hear him. So kind of works out for him.
Falling Star is a good question. Should Rizin create their own Ultimate Fighter reality show? My short answer is no. I don't think they can.
No, I don't know. It'd be weird. I don't know how they would do it or like what the goal of it would be.
Maybe like, you know how they get these fighters that have like 1-0 records, 0-1 records, that type of thing. Like, I don't know, maybe something like that. Well, here's the thing. Remember when Rizin used to have those like amateur fights during the intermission?
Oh yeah. It's not like Rizin has extra fighters lying around. Like they can barely scrape together the cards that they have, let alone. Plus, I mean, they essentially borrow half their roster from other promotions in Japan anyway. So I don't see them being able to do something like that. Maybe they could do like a reality show of subtype, but it wouldn't be like the Ultimate Fighter.
What about like a Sakaki Bara and Shingo going around Japan trying to like finding fighters to book?
Well, they don't do that though. They just call Pancrase, Shooto, or Deep and ask for fighters for events. And I swear, like the Hokkaido show coming up is just like a who's who of any fighter that happens to have some connection to Hokkaido from Pancrase, Shooto, and Deep.
And I think didn't Sora Yamamoto get pulled from the fight from that card, even though they advertised him because he was injured from the
He's injured, yes.
fight.
So Kubo's fighting someone else.
That's fine because that's what we all were speculating in the Discord. Could it be Kubo versus Yamamoto? And
Well, they announced his opponent, right? It's not that.
Yeah. And I was thinking like, can you really book a guy who literally had a fight a month ago and got knocked down at least twice and taken down a bunch of times and lost a fight? And it turned out in the end, yeah, you can't because that's not enough time to recover.
There's no athletic commission in Japan. You can do whatever you want.
Oh, you're saying that JMMA is not an athletic commission, sir?
Just refs and judges.
No, that's true. Yes. Smile Bomb says that he thinks that they could do a reality show if they paid Mikuru and his Goof Troop to produce a BTS. I was thinking BTS like the band behind the scenes. I think you're talking about program for New Year's, Rizin's New Year's show, and it could blow up.
Well, they could do a reality show, but the reality show would have to be like Team Mikuru versus Team someone else, but it wouldn't be like new fighters. You'd have because they wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to like maybe like pit a gym versus a gym or something.
Remember that one time that one Rizin show, I forgot which one, like emphasized the gyms and the camps from the fighters, like in the opening VTR.
Oh, the one where was it about the Akita fight? Does he use to train with Takaragomi? It was like, and then they had the Ichiwatari stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's not done a lot. I wish that was done more. Emphasizing that. So actually, curious, Charlie, would you say that breaking down, and how long has breaking down been on? 2 years, a year and a half?
I think about 2 years probably sounds right, but I don't know.
And breaking down approximately 2 years, have they been more successful than Bellator has in over a decade or however long they've been around?
Yeah, I think they make a profit. So yeah.
I hear the dogs are barking. Who's barking?
Both my dogs are barking at someone.
Actually, color. I want to ask about colors. So, is Shooto now doing kind of like their own deep jewels? Is that kind of like their deep jewels thing?
Yeah, they used to have an all women's promotion called Shooto, but it stopped doing it like 17 years ago. It's like my dogs are crazy.
And Slowing Stars that has a question. How expensive is the Rizin pay-per-view price in Japan? So Super Rizin is how much? $30, you said, I think. Oh, CJ? Oops. Hold on. CJ's gonna take care of the dogs. I believe it's $30, Falling Star. Now Rizin 43 though. Oh, sorry. CJ, sorry. The Rizin Super Rizin show is $30, you said on pay-per-view, right?
Rising Super Show? I think it's more than that.
Super Rizin.
Super Rising 2? I don't know how much it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they've announced it yet.
Rizin, how much is a usual pay-per-view on Abema for Rizin or Unext?
It's like 5,000 yen. Let me double check. The ticket prices for this next one are nuts though. Did you see how much money the ticket prices for the Super Rising might be pretty expensive too.
Oh yes, Babu Jack told me that.
I think Pablo Jack said it was like really expensive. It was like almost as expensive as the match. Let's see. Pay-per-view. That's not decided yet how much it's going to cost.
What do you think about Rizin 43 being so far free in Japan? So the announcement is free on YouTube.
It's got no pay-per-view draws on it, so I don't think that's even worth them trying to do a pay-per-view. And so now they're acting. That's what they said. It's like the present for them getting their YouTube award for like 100, whatever, getting a certain amount of views. They got a plaque. So they got the YouTube plaque, and so said, as a thank you, we're going to give you Rising 43 for free. But I think it's just because they know that there's no pay-per-view draws on that, so it's not going to sell pay-per-views anyway.
They did the same thing with the Okinawa show. Like it was free on 100 Cub, whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What do you think the odds are that it's going to be geo-blocked in the United States or outside Japan, I should say?
Oh, it's going to be because he said he's going to. It's only going to be free in Japan. They said they're going to. It's probably going to be an international pay-per-view. Because he said that he'll announce the details on the international stream later, which makes me think it's not going to be free.
Do you know if that show is sold out in what was it, the whatever, Sapporo?
I think it'll sell well just because every match has somebody from Hokkaido in it.
I think they really got every fighter in Hokkaido minus Sora Yamamoto to be on that card.
Yeah, I think it'll do fine. Plus, not a lot of Rising shows go to Hokkaido. I ran into some fans that are actually doing the tour package that are flying up there and having a fan dinner. Yeah.
So that package. So it includes an airfare. Is it two-way?
Yeah, it's a round trip flight, hotel, tickets. You get like a special present, and I think there's like a dinner or something.
Well, that's first of all smart on Rizin to do a Hokkaido show in the summer. If they had done it in winter, good luck. I think the show would have failed.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever see Rizin in Hawaii? So let's say Bellator does get bought out. If Bellator does get bought out this year, do you think that destroys any sort of chance of Rizin in Hawaii? Because I think the whole thing was that they were going to do a show of Bellator.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do the same thing that it's been a very one-sided relationship of Bellator's taking Rising fighters and piggybacking on Rising events. But I think the whole plan is for like Rising to piggyback off of a Bellator event in Hawaii.
So let's say Bellator is bought by PFL, Bellator ceases to exist. Do you think Rizin should find another international promotion to collab with, like a KSW
Well, I think
Maybe
I mean I
officially
think
combat.
they used to collaborate with those people, but KSW, didn't they say that they only collaborated in the beginning because they liked the idea of it, but it like there's no benefit to them for it. They just lose their good fighters because I think they were pissed about the whole Kleber Koike thing, weren't they?
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Daniel from Poland can obviously provide more information on that whole thing.
I mean, but there's also, I mean, they've done stuff with Road FC in the past. They've collaborated with all sorts of promotions.
Okay. Yes. So go ahead.
I mean, they might be able to get something going with PFL.
Smile Bomb has a question for you, CJ, that piggybacks off of Falling Stars question. Smile Bomb is finishing up his residency paperwork to return to Japan, and he's curious how expensive it is to be an MMA fan in Japan. So I guess like a hardcore MMA fan, you know, you're watching UFC 1, Rizin. How would you say it's expensive to like?
Just expensive. Where's he? Just depends. If you're going to go to everything live, it's going to be expensive. And to watch it, it wouldn't be that expensive now because if you get Unext, you can watch almost all of it now. Because all the deep shows and the Pancrase shows will be on there for free. I mean, you have to pay the monthly, but they're included.
Wait, so Deep is, you said Deep's on there? So you don't have to subscribe to your YouTube thing.
The Deep numbered shows and Deep Jewel's numbered shows are on Unext. Their YouTube channel has all the numbered shows and the non-numbered shows. The big shows are the numbered ones. Pancrase shows are all on Unext. Bellator is on Unext. UFC is on Road to UFC is on Unext. Or is I think UFC in general might be on Unext. So Unext is the way to go. Abima, you can watch like Shooto when it's live. If you watch it live, it's free. And one championship. So you can watch most of it for very affordable. But if you're going to go to events and you live in Tokyo, it's going to be expensive because probably the cheapest tickets to most events are like 6,000 or 7,000 yen.
Yeah, he clarifies. He says he means meaning to watch. He's going to be going to the Inaka. Do you know what the Inaka is?
Oh, he'll be in the countryside. Okay, so if you're going to be in the countryside, if you buy Unext, which I think is like 1,000 something yen a month, you'll have access to a bunch of the promotions, and then you can watch Shooto and one championship for free on Abima if you watch it live. So it's not that expensive now. It's way cheaper than it used to be.
And Pancrase is on YouTube, right?
Pancrase is also on Unext.
Oh, it is? I thought it was on YouTube.
It is. It has its own YouTube, but it's also on Unext.
Okay, gotcha.
But Rising will be the only one that's expensive because the pay-per-views will add up and they pump out garbage events. So
what about K1 though? Does that mean
K1's free it's free on Abima if you watch it live.
I see. And Smile Bomb, I guess he kind of did the math. He says it's crazy cheap compared to the US, like pretty much $7 a month, which is actually pretty true because if like you're watching UFC, you gotta subscribe to ESPN.
Yeah.
Then you're subscribing to the UFC Fight Pass.
If you're a UFC fan in Japan, I don't know how the Unext deal affects this, but I think you can get Fight Pass for like $8 in Japan, and it includes every pay-per-view live as well.
So yeah, I would say just being a UFC fan in the United States is much more expensive than just like.
Is each pay-per-view like $100 now?
Yeah, and it's monthly, so 100 times 12, along with and plus also you gotta pay for the UFC Fight Pass, ESPN. Yeah, you're knocking out whatever 100 times 12 is. I can't do math, so
can't add 2 zeros to.
I'm not good at math, Charlie.
It's $1,200.
It's $1,200 a year that you're spending on UFC shows. And I'm sure that there's people out there who have money that can do that, but most people don't. Was that intro color?
I'm sorry?
Oh no, I was gonna say about that Shooto Color show. Was it good? Was it kind of like, oh, this could
No.
be like a good thing that they're doing?
I think the fear is that they've done stuff like this in the past and it always kind of fizzles out. Like their Valley Tudo Japan thing only lasted a couple of years. G Shooto only lasted a couple of years. Battle Mix only lasted a couple of years.
Is that kind of Shooto's whole thing? Um, like they'll start something and then they'll just like
It'll
after a
fizzle out.
month. Yeah.
Well, they already announced the next Colors show. I think it's going to be part of a Shooto show in Hiroshima, which makes sense because that's close to where Megumi Fuji lives. I think the big issue is the roster. The Colors show, the first couple fights were okay, but the last three were great. The Ayaka Watanabe fight, the Zeni Wong fight, and the Miku Nakamura fight were all great.
Honestly, the Zenny Huang fight probably got the most like post fight buzz. Like I saw on like social media, like just her submission. If that submission probably didn't happen, probably the show would not have gotten any sort of attention at all.
Yeah, because it was kind of crazy because it was like a cool Imanari choke, but that was the kind of thing you need to happen because the Watanabe fight was a KO win, but she's not really a big star yet, and Satomi Takano is not really a big star either. So
if it was Hisei Watanabe who got the KO, then we'll be talking about that.
Hisei Watanabe is a tough lady. I thought she won her fight on the Colors show,
but the judges were like, draw.
They do love draws.
Yes. Smile Bomb says, Rizin puts out a lot of garbage events, so we depend on CJ and Andrew and the rest of the podcast crew to let us know which Rizin pay-per-views to pay attention to. The problem with the Rizin, so it's not even what the pay-per-views are. The problem is that like Rizin will blow. So let's say there's 12 fights. I will say there's probably three to four that are probably the most interesting. Because before that, because like then, like when you have the prelims, you might have like 3 or 4 kickboxing matches with people that are from like Nagoya or Sendai, the Yagi area. And I just don't care or don't care about them.
One of those might be the places that he's moving to.
Oh, okay. So it's not like so like with the USC show, like the way that they split it is like clearly like the 5-fight main card.
Right.
With Rizin, they will like
they'll put like a good fight at the very beginning of it, then follow it with like a bunch of garbage fights.
Yeah. The problem with Rizin main events, there's some Rizin main events where I just don't give a shit. Or like Rizin 42. Fight I was probably most interested in was that the Ampo Bulakov fight. And in hindsight,
that was awesome.
That was a great fight. And I thought it was better than the Motoya Kai fights.
Well, the Motoya Kai fight was kind of had a good first round and last round, but in the middle it was kind of boring. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that's that. So that's the problem. That I think that I think a lot of the undercard stuff, I'll say middle of the card, tends to be stuff I look more forward to than the actual main events. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that they're trying to put on more events to grow, but then that leads to some of these events where it's just like, especially like the Osaka cards seem to be like pretty garbage universally. I'm actually okay with the Hokkaido card. I like the Hokkaido card. It's like a perfect regional level card. And now that it's free, perfect. It's even perfect. It's better. For a free event, the Hokkaido card is great. The Super Rising, though, if it's as expensive as the match, that's going to be hard for me to like rationalize.
And also, here's the problem is that they're doing it. So I have a problem when you do 2 big shows.
Back to back.
And yes, I would say I think you can't I think Rizin needs to put all their balls or whatever, shoot their load, I guess you could say, for New Year's Eve. I would be fine with whatever they want to do with Bellator. This could also be a sign that Bellator is not going to exist because maybe Bellator is like, oh, hey, we're not going to be, we're going to liquidate by the end of the year if we're not sold. So maybe this is why they're doing this now, potentially. it's, but I've always considered the New Year's Eve show to be the WrestleMania for the Super Bowl for Rizin.
Yeah.
I don't know if they really should. I don't know. The idea of Super Rizin, it also bothers me because I'm always like, when you have, if every show is a big show, then no show is a big show, if that makes sense. The Incredibles quotes.
Well, yeah, but also it's just like they're putting on too many shows now. I just would rather they had. I mean, I think the perfect number for Rising is to do like a numbered show every other month and maybe have a couple non-numbered shows.
Mm.
But I don't understand the logic of like not doing an event for 3 to 4 months after New Year's Eve and then like slamming 3 events in a row. Because I think it
I see
leads.
that.
My wife's a big fan, but I mean, you see it in her and other fans. It leads to like fatigue when you like pump them, when you like do it. Like there's those 2 events that were literally less than a week apart, right?
Yeah.
With the
No,
Yogi and
the ones that just happened, the Landmark and 42 show.
less than a week. Why did they have to put those so close together in the same city? Like it would make sense to me if like one of it wasn't in Tokyo, but the fact that they were both in Tokyo just seems
Yeah,
strange to me.
that was baffling. That was incredibly baffling. But Landmark had Mikuru, and then obviously 42 had Kai. So I think they were banking on the fact, oh, we're gonna separate the Azakura brothers, and so
Well, I mean,
that way it'll sell out.
I mean, I think it sold well, but wouldn't you want to have like year-round buzz? Why wouldn't you put one of those fights a month earlier?
Oh, Smile Bomb. Falling Star says he's on the first lightweight Bellator champion at Super Rizin 2. What a lame way to start a division in your promotion. Is it lightweight? Wait, is it?
They have the first flyweight. They're having the first flyweight champion, right?
Yeah.
Gucci's fighting for the title.
Yeah. What do you think about that? That they're actually doing the Bellator flyweight championship that way?
I think it's just a way to try to get Horiguchi a belt so that Bellator can legitimize coming back to Japan even more then.
I mean, listen, I think it's going to be a tough fight. That's a fight I'm looking forward to. That's a high level technical fight that I think can be really exciting.
Horiguchi's also been kind of chinny recently, so it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens.
He has. Plus also he's developing his own promotion, Top Rights. He may not have enough time training because Top Rights is obviously going to be the next big thing, right, Charlie?
I mean, your brother's got to do something in the countryside. Hey, if Smiley Bot's moving to Gumaken, he can go to all the Horiguchi shows.
Let's see. Smile Bomb says, thanks for the consideration, CJ. I understand Andrew, my point too. Hold on. Chat's going too fast. They're people from smaller MMA areas in Japan, so the competition level isn't as high. And Daniel says, don't remind of Rizin 34, which is maybe Rizin's worst show of all time, or most boring show. And Daniel says 1 event per month would be okay, with Landmark and Super spin-offs included. What do you think about that?
I'd be fine with that, but I would also say I'd be fine with that. The caveat that I wouldn't do a show in November. I would just let everything build up to the New Year's Eve, like Super Bowl event. So I'd be okay if there was no event in November and no event in January, and you just put all of your eggs in the New Year's Eve basket. I think every year should just be events building to New Year's Eve and having New Year's Eve be the culmination of whatever storylines you're trying to do.
What about for the New Year's Eve show? Two shows or 1 show?
I'm okay with the 2-day event if you have the fights to rationalize it. Like, especially if you're going to have like a tournament that's going to be like the semifinals and finals. I'm okay with there being 2 days because I liked the Fan Expo as well. I thought that's kind of a cool event. But if I was going to do that, I would take the November and January off because January is not going to be good because it's a big holiday month in Japan anyway. And you kind of want to give the fans and the fighters time to recover.
Oh, and Smile Bomb says Miyazaki Ken. So Miyazaki, that's in Shizuoka, right? Or that close to Shizuoka?
Yeah, Island.
Oh, it's its own island?
No, no, she's where is it? It's on Miyazaki's on Kyushu. Oh, you have good ramen. They have like famous tonkatsu ramen. That's awesome. Yeah, you're out there in the sticks, my friend. Enjoy that.
But listen, hey, ramen, you got that Kyushu ramen. What is it? Is that
Yeah.
tonkatsu? That's tonkatsu
Yes.
style, right?
Yeah, it's the pork ramen. It's good.
Deep Jewels, Charlie. How was that Deep Jewels show?
Oh, it was fun. It was cool
Obviously,
because
we couldn't watch it live because we were getting one of us was getting slapped by Aya Murakami.
I just watched on
But
you next. She smacked the shit out of you. That was great. That's the best $10 I've ever spent in my life.
No comment. We will not delve into that any further for people that in chat wondering. But
No, Deep Jewels is great. They brought over Road FC fighters. They brought over Amp the Rocket from Thailand. Corona's over. They're bringing. Also, their production value looks like it's gotten even better now that they're on Unext. Like the graphics cards and things that they're using look great. Sekizawa smashed her opponent, Amp the Rocket, which she should have because Amp the Rocket's a microweight. But she then said she wants to fight again as soon as possible. But I was talking to Shu, I don't think she'll be on the Super Rising card just because there's already like a set number of slots, and they're probably going to want to put as many big names as possible. I don't think she has the following yet.
After she won? That's why I know that
she didn't cry because it wasn't even like she says it felt like she didn't even fight. So Moedi Suda surprisingly got TKO by Park, but I'll put a caveat saying that Suda actually looked pretty good before that, and she just made a stupid mistake and got caught. She wasn't like knocked unconscious. It was like a TKO. And then she like didn't set up a knee and just threw a knee strike. And her opponent saw it and just nailed her with an overhead right as a counter and knocked her down and landed some GMP, so the ref stopped it. But she'll learn from that. She's still pretty young. Hopefully they bring Park back too. I mean, Ji Young Park, not Siwoo Park.
So was this Park? I'm sorry to interrupt, but like was she from like Team Mad or like one of those things that like?
No, she's the short-haired Ju Young Park who fought for Road FC. She's fought in Deep Jewels a couple times. She like fights all over Asia. She's like predominantly a striker. I would say she's not as good as Siwoo Park, but she's still like an explosive, muscular 48.
She doesn't have that good of a record though. Like it's like 7-5 now or 7-6.
Yeah, she's got close to a 50-50 record, but it's because she fights tough people, if that makes sense. I'd describe her as like a journeyman fighter. And then Machi won, which was great. Machi absolutely smashed her opponent, who was like an undefeated girl from Road FC. But that girl clearly didn't know how to grapple at all. So I'm looking forward to seeing Machi. I know
that you and Shu on your show, we're really hyping up Machi. Do you think Machi could I think you said that she's gonna that Rizin may be calling her at some points.
I don't know. I mean, I would hope so. My thing with Machi is I think she got kind of lucky in the Hime fight with the no glove touch, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes.
But she's really I'm not gonna say she's really good. I'm gonna say she has potential to be a good fighter, and she has potential to be a very popular fighter. She has the charisma, she has the looks, she has the grappling base. Her one glaring weakness is she's short. I think she's a strawweight. I mean, I know she's a strawweight, but I think she's like 5 feet tall.
Let me see. Machi Fukuda, right?
Yes.
Okay. Why did she said why she only go? Does she only go by Machi or does she go by her full name? I think she only goes by her Machi, right?
That's by Machi, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. How tall is she? Yeah, she's only 5 feet. 5 feet, and she fights a strawweight?
Yeah.
Damn, that is
tiny.
Yeah, that is tiny. Listen, I'm sure she's a great fighter, nice person. At this point, she would get even if she like went on a 10-fight win streak, I think she still loses to every top 15 person in UFC. That's strawweight. She would be out.
She's doing the right. She's training with good people. She just has to develop a fight style because, I mean, I think strawweight could be a forgiving division if you have the physical strength to be a strawweight. You don't necessarily have to be tall enough, but you just have to be strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if she's strong enough to force girls to the ground, I think she'll do great.
Let me go back to the chat. Father Star says, isn't it strange that the Manny fight still hasn't been officially updated? When I saw the Super Rising conference, I kept waiting to hear about Manny. Well, Manny is in a little lawsuit right now. I think him and his management are. So that could possibly be.
Didn't they have like a filing bringing up the Rising stuff because he's supposed to like tell them if he has any fights booked or something? But he's like, it's not a fight, it's an exhibition match.
I mean, so this is, this gets into the question of, exhibitions,
Good riddance. I could give a shit less about Manny Pacquiao.
Yes, no.
Or Floyd Mayweather fighting in Rizin.
Exactly. Yes. This will do nothing. This guarantees nothing. If they ever do announce, Manny for like an actual fight, CJ, I want you to ask 10 of your coworkers if they would go see Manny Pacquiao fight an exhibition fight, and I want to hear the results. And I would bet the results are 0.
Man, no one's gonna. I mean, I don't know who they're trying to appeal to. I think they're just trying to get like their name in the newspapers or something.
So you think one thing we're just gonna be working with Manny Pacquiao and that kind of just like. Do you think they're actually gonna book him, or do you think this is just kind of like they're trying to associate him?
I think they intend to book him. They probably will. I mean, it sounds like Manny Pacquiao needs the money.
Do you remember when Pacquiao was helping train Mikaru to fight Floyd? Did you ever see that video?
He looked so confused in the video. Wasn't he just like wearing blue jeans and some shit too? And he clearly had just showed up.
Yeah. And remember when Tension had that fight?
They brought over a guy that was like handpicked by Pacquiao to fight Tension.
Yeah. Remember they kept on like showing Manny on camera, and Manny really, I think, was he on commentary? I think it was on commentary.
That's what they're paying for. They're not paying for the guy. They're paying for Pacquiao to come sit ringside.
Yeah, this exhibition thing needs to die. There's a reason. It just,
it's run its course. I'm kind of done with it.
I
think the big worry is now that Rising's off Fuji TV, I'm kind of curious how they're going to make new fans, because you and I met some guys at that bar and they were like, oh, we like Rising. And I was like, how'd you get into Rising? And they were like, oh, we saw it on Fuji TV. And then I was talking to another guy and I was like, oh, you like Rising? He's like, yeah, how do you like it? He's like, oh, I saw it on Fuji TV. So I think now that it's off TV, I'm kind of curious how many new fans they're creating.
It's one of those things. So like clear, like if you're looking at the breaking down thing, clearly it's like people talking, like it's going viral. And so, someone passes on to their friend, And I mean, that's the thing. Like, how do you, problem is that MMA has like a ceiling in terms of who will watch it. It's not like football, where even people who don't like football will even sometimes watch the Super Bowl. Right. But there are people who are just not interested in MMA that will attend like Rizin's New Year's Eve show. I know there are people that are not wrestling fans that will tune into WrestleMania, for example.
Yeah, because they want to see Johnny Knoxville fight a guy with a giant mousetrap.
Exactly. Yeah. So what would you say that Rizin needs to do to get more fans? I mean, obviously, I think putting
the Hokkaido show on YouTube for free is a great idea. I think if they had like a series of show, like the Trigger series or something, that was free on YouTube, I think that'd be really interesting. Like they just made their money off of ticket sales and local sponsors and put their young fighters on it. I think that could be interesting.
Well, have you noticed that they're less and less putting their remember they used to put the full fights on YouTube. Remember,
right.
Like a week.
Then they did that thing where they were like, remember that time period where they were putting like everything but the last round on YouTube?
Yes, that was very strange. And since then, since they haven't done that, do you think that their popularity has stalled? or their attempt to get more fans installed?
I mean, it's hard to measure because fighters like Mikuru and Ren are almost like independently popular. So when they go on a Rising show, Rising gets attention, but I don't think that's because of Rising. I think it's because of those two guys. I think that their popularity is going to, I think not being on like an easily accessible thing that people can just flip into the channels, discover, is going to hurt them.
Do you foresee? I know that
I also think
I'm
the
not
Rising Stream Pass thing is a giant failure. That's like a fart in the wind.
Yes, yeah. I'm not calling you out, J Wolf. That I'm not doing that, J Wolf. I love you. Do you think that Fuji TV will ever come back, or you think
No.
this is dead in the water?
Dead in the water. I think Rising makes more money now that they're not on Fuji TV, and they're more free to do what they want. The only thing, the only negative for Rising is the ability to introduce the promotion to new people. In every other category, them not being on Fuji TV is like a win.
Well, that's the cost analysis. Like, so are you on Fuji? Yeah, you maybe make less money being on Fuji TV and you have less freedom to do whatever, but the reach is obviously not as much as being on a Unext or even a Bima at this point, or even Rizin Stream Pass.
They just need to find a way to reach people that aren't watching it, which I think putting free events up on YouTube could be a great answer to that.
Well, so do you think that they should do that with like, do that with the trigger shows, or do that with the smaller shows maybe?
No, Trigger doesn't exist anymore, Andrew. But
I forgot. Yeah. Sorry.
I would put, now that Landmark isn't Landmark anymore, I would just put Landmark stuff up for free.
I think that Landmark actually would.
Put like portions of the card up for free, maybe.
Well, they do that. They'll do like the first 3 fights for free. Remember they did that for Rizin 4A2 with the kickboxing matches.
But see, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm like, put the fighters that you want to get popular, put them for free on YouTube.
But remember, like, I think Landmark had the idea kind of good, kind of like 4 or 5 fights. I think that was kind of a step in the right direction to getting.
It's a good idea. Like if they created like a YouTube specific series, so if they rented out like a studio and only sold out like 20 or 30 tickets, like 100 tickets, like a real small venue, but a place that they could do like good production value in, and they just put like 4 or 5 fights on and put it for free on YouTube, I think that'd be interesting. Like put young fighters that you're trying to increase their popularity on. I think that'd be a good idea.
Does it make you happy now that you don't hear these young fighters anymore say follow me on YouTube?
You're just not hearing them say it. They still say it. Seika Izawa had a giant QR code on the back of her uniform to her YouTube page.
I see. Oh my God, I missed a lot of stuff in chat. Smile Bomb says, I wish Manny would just fight an exhibition for the rest of his life, just like Floyd is. Sure, as long as it's not a Rizin, because then I don't have to talk about it. I think Rizin would just have to go full force into social media advertisement now that they can't get Fuji TV. I don't know. How is Japan when it comes to like social media advertisements? Is it as advanced, or is it not as advanced as I feel it is?
No, they have stuff on social media. I just think that Rising needs to find a way to get fighters to, because you can't ask them to do what Mikuru and Kai did, because a lot of fighters aren't that way. But I think the Raikkonen series is great. Maybe if you made more stuff like that, like shorter videos, just highlighting certain fighters, that could be good as well. Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing about social media when it comes to Japan. They're very
private and strict.
Yes. Like, what happens if you like, I don't know, has this ever happened to you, Charlie, where you like shared a photo or like a video
Oh, and like you got a copyright strike or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my
Oh,
original YouTube channel, like 15 years ago, was taken down due to Japanese copyright strikes.
yes. That's where Japan is not advanced when it comes to social media because they don't. It's so now Rizin does their own thing. They kind of like put their own gifts up and all that. But remember, remember there used to be this one guy, I think his name was Kyle, who used to gift like all the Japanese stuff, Pancreas, Shooto, Rizin, and then suddenly he stopped. I think because he maybe got like copyright strikes. That's a problem. That's the same thing also with a lot of Japanese pro wrestling is that so many accounts have gotten banned or removed because they just don't they copyright strike that's anything that's like belonging to them. It happened to me. It happened to the war account, and I fought against it, and it got reinstated. It was the JQ.
I think IQ Wrestler also had some issues with like pro wrestling leagues going after him. They don't seem to understand it's like good for them to have these types of videos out, creating exposure.
Let's see. Daniel says they would potentially have problems of bringing major sponsorship if they are on FTA TV. What's FTA TV? Daniel?
Is he saying Fight TV?
Daniel, did you mean Fuji TV? Just clarify. Spotbomb has something interesting. The reach for normal cable viewers isn't there anymore at Fuji gone. But I think if Rizin leaned to a one system where y'all are mentioning, putting up fights for free on YouTube, they could. The thing is that those F1,
one has money from investors, so they can afford to do that.
Yes. They have they'll even put up fights that they've already uploaded like twice. They've done that multiple times.
They put up fights like 10 times. They just change the thumbnails and put them up like numerous times throughout the year. It's weird. Especially the women's fights. They like put up pictures of them like bikinis on and it's
emojis.
Weird.
You won't believe this knockout, and it's a crying emoji, and
it's weird.
I love that shit. I'll say this. One has better social media than Rizin. Daniel meant free to air TV, terrestrial TV.
No.
So like a Fuji, Asahi, that sort of thing.
That's true.
Sponsor
issues.
Let's see. Following stars a question. CJ, is there an Ariel Helwani or Joe Rogan like person in Japan, or someone who's slowly become like a Japanese MMA type, I guess, equivalent?
No.
Who's the guy that we saw that Nagao Susumu? Maybe he's the closest.
It's a photographer. I mean, if he's asking is there like a YouTube? I mean, there's YouTube channels where they talk about MMA that are kind of popular. But there's nothing to the level of Ariel Helwani or Joe Rogan.
Is okay. So okay? If there's nobody that's like on that level, is there anybody though who's, I guess,
the problem is it's in Japan. It's some fighters are accessible, but the promotions are like way more hardcore about media stuff.
Yes.
So I know guys where if you say photographers and people where if they say something bad about a promotion, all of a sudden they no longer have press credentials for those events. Or this promotion will be if you want to talk to our fighters, you have to come to us first and get permission on which fighters to talk to. And we'll tell you which ones you can talk to and which ones you can't talk to. And so Japan's definitely much more of you have to play ball with whatever the promotion wants. And so as a result, there's not really a TV show or a YouTube channel where a guy brings fighters on and interviews them.
I've gotten, I've already talked about it many times, but K1 was when we tried to do a spinoff of kickboxing.
They wanted to pay you. They wanted you to pay them to do it, right?
Yes. And they also requested a card. What do you call it? The card or something, like a business card?
Oh, yeah.
And just all these other things. Yeah. I was more put off by the fact that they were wanting me to pay them. That was the most offensive. And I know that some of these promotions, you have to go through them, to talk to their fighters. And I think Shooto has that, right?
Shooto is like that. I think deep, it's kind of like 50-50. Deep, you can go up to the fighters, but you can also go to the promotion. But Pancrase doesn't give a shit. Pancrase is like the easiest one. Pancrase, you can just go straight to the fighters, and they're just happy that you're promoting their fighters.
What was it when I set up the interview with May Yamaguchi? She was like, she said, "Can I just reach out to Shingo to just double check that's okay?" But that's fine. I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for UFC fights, you don't even have to for fighters. Yeah, you don't even have to go through UFC. You could just go to fighters.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, why would the promoter want to control that? That just is more work for you. Like, yeah.
Oh, what's this? Being a Rizin fan on Twitter sucks because if you post a GIF, this is what some mile bomb says. You post a GIF, you get dinged. And it says that Japanese copyright law and its enforcement really hurts JMMA spreading internationally. And I have a big theory about this, and I was talking about this yesterday with a friend. I think if in an alternate universe, we'd be talking more about J-pop than K-pop if Japan was not so draconian. Because the reason why K-pop spread so easily is because Korea just let this shit out all over the world and did not restrict. There are some videos that in Japanese music videos and Japanese stuff that you can't watch on YouTube because they geo block it for international. And don't allow comments as well. So yeah, I think in an alternate universe where Japan is not like this, we'd be talking about J-pop. We'd be talking about Sakana action, selling out Madison Square Garden or something. Or
it just comes down to my old catchphrase of they don't care about international fans.
Yep.
They say they do, but actions speak louder than words, and JMMA has never cared about the international audience.
But if you do look at the history of Japanese media, the stuff that it has when they have branched out to try Avatar, Pokemon, Digimon, so much stuff that's come out of Japan.
I thought Avatar wasn't Japanese.
Oh, I thought it was Japanese.
I've never seen it. I thought Avatar was originally not a. Are you thinking of anime in general?
Yeah, just anime in general. Remember, it used to be impossible. You had to go through LimeWire and Kaza to find, or YouTube to find anything. You're lucky to even if you found it. Sometimes it wouldn't even be in English.
Yeah, Avatar was made by Nickelodeon.
Oh, never mind then. But yeah, that's But then when Crunchyroll came out and the other one Funimation, I know people who don't watch anime that watch Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan. So
yeah,
they
have stuff that they could easily sell to the international market, and for some reason they just don't give a shit. They always do it they're so cautious. They always, when they try to go in the international market, they dip a pinky toe in the bathwater, and if anything problem happens, they just don't do it. Remember Deep was on Ustream for 3 events or something. Yeah. I think they have their own system where they've scraped by for so long on ticket sales that now that pay-per-views become a thing. And Rising seems to have adapted well, but the new promotions are kind of still getting used to it.
Sorry, there's a lot of comments in chat. Smallbomb says, that's a good point, but one has Amazon money. I still don't know if Amazon is paying for one or if one is paying Amazon.
I don't think they make any money from Amazon.
I contend that probably one's paying for the Amazon.
Because they paid to be on TBS or TNT, whichever one.
Yes, TNT. Yeah. Again, they have money. They get money somehow.
I've heard the numbers on Amazon Prime are better than they were hoping for.
Oh yeah, no, because the great thing is that you can watch it anytime. You can watch it live. You can watch it right after. And probably that's it's Amazon. Amazon Prime is maybe I would say is better than Netflix and is the best streaming platform because you can not only watch Amazon stuff, but you can also watch Showtime. You can watch Paramount. You can watch almost anything on it. So I think that's the best one.
I just want to support Bezos after his divorce too, because
Oh,
he
that's
lost some
true.
money. He needs to get some money back. So I'm trying to help him out.
Smile almost says, dude, the one bikini emojis causing me psychic damage.
Yeah, it's so funny because you're like, oh, is this a weigh-in video? No, it's just a fight video. They just put up glamour shots of the fighters and put them up there.
Smile almost says press credentials taken away for some bad comments. Dana White syndrome. Yeah, that's about it.
I actually think Dana White gets like a bad rap. I think Dana White's much nicer to like allows much more media freedom than most Japanese promotions probably do.
I would say so. Because
Ariel just got pissed that Dana just got pissed about the whole Brock Lesnar spoil thing. But no, in Japan, I bet especially like promotions like Shooto or something like that would so easily remove press credentials.
They still do invite, MMA fighting, and I think whoever it was, remember, I think a few of those publications were criticizing UFC for running shows during the pandemic, and they're still invited.
Yeah.
So
they were criticizing them, but they were criticizing them, but they were still going to them.
Yes, that's true. Smile Bomb says K1 asking for cash in advance for y'all promoting their promotions like Patty Pimblett asking for cash in exchange for interviews. Listen, I would pay K1 any day of any day more than Patty Pimblett. Not that I should have to pay for either.
Wait,
has that ever happened to you, CJ? Did that ever happen to you?
No. Who was it that asked? Was it Patty Pimbleton's? Was it Dre Riggs? Somebody asked him to pay, or like Jack Walden?
Well, I don't think it was either one of them. I think it was someone. Maybe it could have been Drake. It could have been
Patty
Drake.
Pembleton or someone. The team tried to get someone to pay. Was it Ariel?
Yes. No, it was Ariel. No, it was Ariel. Remember? Because then Patty did that like interview with Dana, and they were both shit talking Ariel, and then Ariel actually showed like the text or something like, Smile has
didn't the Asakura brothers also notoriously want you to pay them?
Yes, I won't say which one. I won't one of them.
I also think that was just their way of telling you to fuck off, though.
Yeah, I mean,
they were just like,
I guess so. Yeah. I guess so. Well, Smilebomb says, I think Japan's a country, and my Japanese wife has backed us up. I think they don't care about international customers because they have enough money to fuel themselves. To Andrew's point,
that is not true. The Japanese economy is pure shit. They need money so bad.
Well, that's the thing. They used to be self-sufficient, and tourism helped, but post-pandemic, a lot of these. Rizin. I'm sure that Rizin is stable, but they certainly are not making the same amount of money that they were before 2020.
I think they're making more money. I think they're making more money after the Fuji TV. I think they're making more money just because they're doing pay-per-view. I think the Fuji TV deal didn't pay them a lot of money. And I think most of the money they got from the Fuji TV deal, they were paying the fighters. And I think it was kind of that situation, because remember they had those fundraisers. I think it was one of those situations where it was like they were using the ticket sales from this event to pay the fighters from the last event.
I just go by also like how the shows look, and remember, and I think you and I and Babu Jack talked about how the shows have gotten significantly less.
Yeah, but that might be a Fuji TV thing, because I think Fuji TV might have been picking up the production budget for those early shows.
So then does Rizin? Do they hire then the production team for themselves?
They have to, because they don't have a partner there.
Well, actually, if it's a BEMA who's showing it, I'm guessing, would it be a BEMA who's running?
It's not a BEMA exclusive, though, because like the next Rising is only on Unext, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Small Bomb also says, to Andrew's point, in the 90s and early 2000s, anime was really hard to watch. It really was. My wife was confused why American kids didn't watch Shin-chan and such. It's because my millennial generation didn't have access it too easily. Yes,
well, it's the same thing true. With MMA until like 2018 was like impossible to watch outside of Japan. You had to
Yes.
like wait for that one Canadian HD TV channel that would show the events like 3 months after they aired. I think it's called like the Fight Channel.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to know, what do you think about the two announcements that Ryzen 43 made that they had a press conference for? Kimura and Lukoku and Fubo versus Karate Kinoshita.
People seem to like Kimura. I don't really care about Kimura. I just have flashbacks of Crazy Horse knocking him out no matter what he does.
I think a lot of people do.
But then he fought at that moat fight and did he kill Yachi? Did he
He did.
brutally
He
knock
knocked
out
out
Yachi? Did he brutally knock out Yachi? Yeah.
It is
I don't-
funny though, because
Lukoku, I don't care about. Lukoku is an exciting fighter, I guess. I'm glad to see he didn't go to jail. What's the other fight?
Kubo, who's obviously you're a fan of,
the
versus
Hokkaido
Karate
show?
Kinoshita.
I love Kubo. Kubo's gonna be great. I saw Sarah was at the press conference. She had a drink that said like unicorn something. So yeah, unicorn tea. So I mean, yeah.
Do you think she'll do a performance?
She better. I hope she incorporates her baby somehow, like Michael Jackson style.
I don't know if Ryzen wants to go into that territory. I don't.
Dude, I love Kubo.
Oh.
I'm gonna start calling him Simple Kubo.
Because he reminds you of Simple Jack.
Yeah.
From he definitely. I don't want to speculate on his intelligence level, but he strikes me as somebody who's really okay. I'm sure, like, he's a great kickboxer, but I'm sure that this guy can't add or multiply.
I mean, hasn't he admitted that he has like autism or something?
I didn't want to say it. I'm glad that he admitted it himself, but okay. I'm glad that he's.
I think something to that effect came out after the whole like Shibatar thing. Hey man, I love Kubo. His fights are entertaining. Those ground and pound elbows he won with were great. Sarah cracks me up. I love their gimmick. I love the monkey. I want to see more.
Smile Bomb says, I hope Kubo and Sarah's relationship is mended now. It hurt me to see Kubo asking for advice on how to make Sarah stop doing adult videos for fame. Is that true, Charlie?
No, she was thinking of doing adult videos, and Kubo was taking to social media to find out how to talk her out of it. There's also this whole thing where like their whole thing's just a gimmick because, yeah, I mean it's just a gimmick, but it's great.
Well, she's a gimmick. I don't know if Kubo even is in on it. I'm
all about it.
Smile Bomb says, I think Kubo's a kickboxing prodigy, and he made at least some cash with stocks, but yeah, everything else about him doesn't seem smart. Actually, you know what he kind of reminds me of? Not even Simple Jack. You have to watch a movie called Lawnmower Man. Do you remember that movie, Charlie?
No, for some reason I'm thinking of the movie about the guy that rode the lawnmower across the country.
Okay.
Won the Academy
Award.
He reminds
me of Jeff Fahey. He reminds me of Jeff Fahey from Lawnmower Man. And it's a terrible movie, it's a terrible virtual reality movie. But if anybody has seen it or looks it up, it'll be like, I get that's what I think of Kubo. And Daniel just said something. I'm afraid to repeat, but whatever. We're already into this. Kubo is the world's most dangerous cuckold.
Oh, why do you have to tell everyone that I'm the father? It's a secret.
Oh, listen, Daniel makes a good point here, though. Kubo versus Poirier fight would have an amazing storyline in VTR.
It would have quite the finish, that's for sure.
It would have quite. Oh, yes, it would. I would have to hand it to Shooto. The guy who does the VTRs, not Shooto. Wait, it's Shooto, right?
Yeah, something like Sato.
Sato, that's it, Sato. Did you see that interview that he did with MMA Fighting? I think did Drake interview him?
I think so. It's good.
Yeah, what an interesting guy. Like what he does to like. I think he's more of the success to Rizin than a lot of people give credit for.
100%. I think the Rizin confession videos helped create a lot of fans.
I I remember, didn't you say, didn't you tell me that if you try to have to do the Bellator stuff, that we would all fall asleep because from boredom, because there's nothing interesting about Bellator?
Yeah, yeah. This Bellator's
Uh,
found a way to just talk about them, so props to them. But I watched that Hawaii show and I thought about just slamming my head on the desk until I couldn't see anymore.
you saw both shows, right? You watched both shows.
It was awful.
Um, so before we head out, Falling Star has a question. Should Rizin do the same move like the UFC of selling to the most Endeavor company in Japan to reach the next level of opportunities? What would be the okay? What would be Endeavor level company in Japan, CJ? Asahi, Sony,
Well, all those, like Sony, all those companies are so big.
but also I don't think any of those companies would be like, no,
Yeah, they
not
wouldn't want it
interested.
just because of all the Yakuza baggage. There'd be no interest. Plus, I mean, I'm sure that Rising does everything by the books. I'm sure all their contracts are up to date and everything's above board and nothing sketchy goes on. Yeah, they
Yeah.
wouldn't. No big promotion would risk buying something that has evidence of Yakuza connections.
Also, just the thing, just also that, like, listen, I don't think that Ryzen is in a position that they could sell themselves because it's
All
not.
those, all the big companies, they want like soccer teams or race
Yes.
teams or judo teams or karate teams, much more like quote unquote prestigious things in Japanese society than MMA.
Or porn. Is porn now officially acceptable in Japan now?
It's always been kind of weird. I remember when I was like here a long time ago, Maria Ozawa was like always on TV.
But now Chan Yota is the most famous porn star in Japan.
Oh, I'm not, who? What? I mean, I think she's pretty popular. She was on Breaking Down.
Yeah, she was, and she's on that PPP show that's going
She
to be
does,
happening.
she does Stardom too, right?
Does she do Stardom?
Yeah, because
Oh, yeah,
there was a German sponsor that threatened to pull if Stardom didn't stop showing her, and Stardom told the German sponsor to kick rocks.
Yes, I think you're right. I think you're right, man. Yeah. So I mean, who knows? Small Bob says I just got the ads banned on the replay. Uh-oh. Yeah. So, oh well. I'm gonna lose my 2 cents that YouTube would send me anyway.
Did you see Kana Watanabe was like did some modeling for the new Street Fighter game?
Oh yes. Was it for Cammy?
No, it's some red-haired character, Mason or Myson or something.
Oh yes. Yeah. Apparently she's gonna be. Are you looking forward to her fight
It's done.
in Bellator against Vera
No,
Tegra?
they should be booking her against Ren Nakai. It's the only fight that she should be doing in Japan.
Are you at least looking forward to Marie Kumagai versus Aoi Koyama?
Hey man, I always like this. I mean, it's not very often that I get to see a member of TriStar fight a member from Smoker's Gym.
That fight can be so ironically bad.
They're both strikers. They're both strikers, so it should be okay.
But they're both bad at what they're both really bad strikers though. They're not, especially Marie Kumagai. She's very unathletic.
Don't you dare talk shit about the event where we're going to see our own David versus Goliath style matchup when 48-kilo Saudi Oshima takes on who will probably weigh like 55, 56 at the time of show. Salt is going to be like 2 feet taller and 20 pounds heavier than Saudi Oshima.
Oh, listen, that's still going to be, that'll be like still a good fight.
I'm excited for it. I love it's like the closest equivalent we've gotten to a ladies freak fight in a while.
Yeah. It would be, I wish, it's funny that probably the last time was like a Gabby Garcia thing, but that's like extreme.
Yeah.
But also there's a Saudi Oshima and Salt. I mean, I'm not gonna say Salt's the best, but Oshima's pretty darn like maybe the best.
No, but Salt's like kind of tailor-made to be tough for Saudi Oshima to fight though. She's tall. She's gonna outweigh her by 20 pounds. she's got a striking background, and she seems to have some decent takedown defense.
Mm.
I mean, it could be the Hime fight all over again.
Oh, yeah, but I hope not. Listen, we still need to get Izawa versus Oshima before both retire for the 30.
Zima wants to fight Claire Lopez, but I kind of agree with Shooto that fight doesn't make any sense. Why bring Claire Lopez in and smash her so quickly?
Yeah, no, I've heard Corey Lopez gonna be fighting somebody else. I can't say who it is, but that fight, if the fight goes as it's supposed to, that one makes a lot more sense. Not Izawa versus Corey Lopez.
You've intrigued me.
I can tell you off air. I can tell you off air. Hey, sorry, anything else about anything JMMA or anything going on? I know K1's going on right now. Are you watching it?
No. I only tune in when Satoshi Ishii's fighting. It's the only.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. And plus, also, it's probably got like 20 fights on there because every big show that K1 does is.
You wish it was 20 fights. It's probably like 26, 27 fights.
Yes, more MMA fights is not always the answer. Jay Wolf, it's not.
I'm a fan of a good 8-9 fight card.
I'm a good fan of a good 1 fight, 1 minute card. That's what I like.
Oh, you're a Breaking Down fan?
I am. I do follow them on Instagram now. I follow the official Breaking Down Instagram. I'm addicted to it.
When are you gonna appeal to be on? Be the first foreign contestant.
Well, here's the thing. I was it you or I remember whoever said that guy, the Somalian guy who got into that fight with the Texas guy on the Japanese train. Those two should be the first foreigners to fight on Breaking Down it.
Don't you have a K1 fight this weekend?
I don't know.
I thought I saw pictures of you at the weigh-in.
Maybe.
Is it K1 where your doppelganger hangs out?
Well, I'm not, we've never been in the same room. So maybe after this, I'm going to be in the sauna cutting weight. Actually, as far as the question, last question. Any update on the hype of Inoue versus Fulton in Japan?
Oh. I haven't heard anything particularly about it. Now Inoue is insanely popular, so I'm sure it'll do great numbers, but it seems like recently the boxing strategy is they don't do like a lot of advertising far out. They just do like really intense promotion like the week of.
Smilebomb says that Somalian dude is making a Hiroshima x Nagasaki diss track in response to getting punched. He got punched? I didn't know.
Is that the guy that like Instant Inoue was like posting and trying to find?
Yes. And right now the co-main event K1's on. But
Daniel, did Andrew's doppelganger win?
Did I win? Did I win Daniel? Or did my fight already happen? Apparently Fulton Inoue is the same week as Crawford versus Spence. Which I know that's a fight that should have happened years ago. I'm not a boxing fan, but even though I know that fight should have happened years ago, and now it's happening, for whatever reason because boxing. Anyway, CJ, what have you got coming up?
What do I have coming up?
Yep.
Gonna interview Saudi Oshima. Gonna try to interview Salt. Gonna interview Hikaru Aono and Shooto Watanabe about his retirement bout. I'm trying to put together a nice Karen article too. So now that it's warm outside, I'm trying to make some more fun articles. So keep an eye out in the future.
And if Daniel says I survived the fight with Yoza, but did I win? Did you actually watch Daniel and see if I won? That's the question. Survival is one thing, but
I think this is a nice way of saying you didn't win.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the concern, Daniel. And also, you just had a great show with Shu this past week.
Yeah, we returned. It was good. Try to go do it again in 2 weeks.
Yes, and I always look forward to that. That's my favorite show. And where can people reach you, CJ?
On Twitter. It was like Sogokaku with CG or something.
Sogo-kaku.com
is my website. yeah, it's Twitter and my website, some of the best ways.
Yep, and yeah, thanks for all tuning in. Follow We Are Rizin Pod at We Are Rizin Pod. And also follow this YouTube channel. If you have not, please like this video. And all that good stuff. Appreciate everybody who tunes in and watches later. And hopefully we'll be seeing you